Hey everyone, this is going to be kind of a different video, a little bit more low-key, it's kind of mostly unscripted. And I just want to take some time to talk about the Pokemon World map, because for some reason that has been fascinating me these last couple of days. So I built up a whole map of the Pokemon World, all of the regions that I can fit in there, based on what we know. Now obviously a lot of these regions are based on actual locations in Earth, but surprisingly enough, the in-game evidence doesn't support them actually being in the same locations as the real world. Also, just so you guys know, I'm recording this before Legends ZA comes out. By the time you get this, Legends ZA probably will be out. I don't know if that's going to change anything, specifically for Kalos' location. So just kind of warning you about that. And also, absolutely nothing in this is going to be anywhere close to scale. I'm sorry, it's just a fact. Also, special thanks to the people on my Discord server, on the Marioverse Discord server, and then also on r/Pokemon for looking at this map before I made this video. So I really appreciate that. A lot of people had a lot of good suggestions and additions, so I feel really lucky now. So here's our beautiful ocean that we're starting off with, and the most obvious starting location would of course be Kanto. But we don't just start off with Kanto because we know that Kanto and Johto are interconnected. We travel between them seamlessly. We know exactly how they compare to each other. And both of them have relationships to multiple other regions. So this is a fantastic starting place for us to be at. And from there, while we're talking about Kanto, we may as well get into the Sevi Islands, which seem to be south of the Kanto region. I think it's stated somewhere, I don't remember exactly where, but also the SS Anne comes out of this port right here, so that just kind of makes the most sense. Then from there, Kanto, Johto, Hoenn's next. Hoenn is going to be somewhere in this same area. It also has to be somewhere near Kanto because those two regions have a close relationship, and also it seems to be very close to the Sevi Islands based on the fact that a lot of those other islands, Naval Rock, Birth Island, all of that you can find them from Hoenn. So because of that, I'm putting Hoenn right there. Now this could just as easily go south, or it could just as easily go to the west, but I felt like this made the most sense to me personally. So, but if you guys want to move it, there's not really a huge deal with that. All right, moving on. Next, another easy one, Sinnoh. We know from Heart Gold Soul Silver that the Sinjoh ruins, which are between Sinnoh and Johto, are to the north of the Lake of Rage. So Sinnoh would itself also then be north of Johto. It's probably a little big there, but let's not worry about that. Also, it's worth noting that it seems like Sinnoh's on a separate landmass from Kanto and Johto. We'll get into that a little bit now, actually, I guess, because the next region we want to talk about is Unova, but in order to place Unova, it doesn't really have a lot of relationships with these four regions. But there are other regions it has a relationship to. So starting off, back at Johto, we know that Johto and Kitakami have a very similar culture and are likely nearby. We also know from Perrin that Kitakami is across the water from Sinnoh, so placing it somewhere kind of right there, kind of towards the northwest of Johto, would make a lot of sense. From there, we know that Paldea is 6 time zones to the west of Kitakami, stated to be west of Kitakami multiple times in game, and also if you compare like the time change as you travel, that's about how much it is. And similarly, Blueberry Academy, I guess I gotta zoom out a little bit here. Blueberry Academy is 6 time zones to the west of Paldea. So like I said, nothing is to scale. They're definitely further away than this. And with Blueberry being there, obviously Unova needs to be nearby. I kind of lined it up with the underwater tunnel in Unova, but it's probably further out than that, more than likely. And while we're talking about American regions and also about time zones, Alola is stated to be at nighttime when Kanto is in daytime. So that means that Alola is about 12 hours off from Kanto, which is also about how much Unova is off from Kitakami. So they're probably somewhere at about the same longitude. Okay, now we have to talk about Kalos. And as far as I can tell, Kalos only has one real hint as to where it is, and that is the existence of a swimmer that's claimed to have swam to Kalos from Hoenn. This implies that there's probably a straight shot between Kalos and Hoenn, so I'm placing it over here just to the east of Hoenn. Once again, the exact distance, the exact direction, there are multiple different options we could go with that. I decided to do this because that's the direction from Kalos that the ocean is. And now we got the tough one. Galar is tough, because as far as I can tell, like, we've seen characters from Galar in Paldea, but we really don't have any idea where it is in comparison to anything else. I feel like, personally, it makes a lot of sense if it's somewhere near Kalos, because, you know, the UK and France, it's not very strong, but it's what I got. And also, assuming that that map is facing north, it has the Crown Tundra at the far south side of the island, which would suggest that likely this is probably in the southern hemisphere. So that's where I got Galar. And that gets us through all of the main games regions, so I'll go ahead and zoom out for you guys a little bit. But I want to add a couple of spin-off regions in there too. And the most obvious spin-off region to add, one that is absolutely without question canon to the main universe, is Or, the region from Pokemon Colosseum and XD Gale of Darkness. And that, I'm just kind of putting with the other American regions right about here, for no real particular reason. I just figure that makes the most sense. Another easy one, Ranger games, very definitely canon. And Almia is very closely related to Sinnoh. And also it fits perfectly along this southern edge of the continent. And that's also the area where it's based on in the real world is in comparison to, what is it? I don't remember what region of Japan Sinnoh is based on. I feel like it starts with an H. But that seems like a pretty clear, this is what it's meant to be. Got mountains to the north and everything that kind of lines up with this mountain range. Now, the other two regions for the Ranger games are a little bit harder to place. So, Fior from the original game, I placed it way out here because, for one, it seemed to be very disconnected from the rest of the Pokemon world. They don't use Pokeballs there, they don't use the word trainer there, stuff like that. It has a very, very different culture from the rest of the Pokemon world as we know it. So I definitely think that it should be kind of far away. And also, it's kind of implied to be at a similar latitudinal space up and down as Almia is, so that seems like a fine location to me. And then Oblivia from the other Pokemon Ranger game, Guardian Signs, I think, is said to be way far down to the south from either of those regions. So I kind of place it down here in the far southeast corner of our map. Okay, so now for some more controversial ones. I know not a lot of people think that Pokemon Snap is canon to the main universe, but I placed those maps here anyways. So first of all, Pokemon Island has to be somewhere near Kanto. If you believe the theories that I talked about in my video on Pokemon Snap, then it would also have to be somewhere near Hoenn. So I kind of placed it there, right between the two regions. Right there. And then from New Pokemon Snap, we have the Lental region, which seems to be very closely tied in with Kalos. So I placed that one right about here, which is somewhat near Kalos. But once again, it could be north, it could be south, it could be to the east, it could even be to the west between that and Hoenn. We don't know if it's even there at all. And now, there's two more regions that I didn't even think about putting in the first place. These were requested by, I think, Marioverse people for both of them. First is Farum. And if you don't know where Farum is, then neither did I a couple of days ago. Farum is the region where Pokken Tournament takes place. And that is, for one, based on a Japanese island, so probably it's somewhere in the same vein as our Kanto, Johto, Hoenn, Sinnoh. But also it is portrayed as disconnected, once again, from those regions, from those cultures. So I'm placing it towards the same direction, off towards the east, where our other unrelated cultures are. right about there. And then finally we have Passio, which almost definitely doesn't exist in the main universe, but all these other regions exist in Passio's universe. So it makes sense that wherever that spit of ocean is or whatever, we could be able to place it. Obviously, most of the characters in Passio in Pokemon Masters are not from that same universe, but there is actually one who is, and that is Leon, who canonically got there not through a Hoopa ring, but because he got lost in the ocean. Yeah. Love Leon. Fantastic. Knows exactly what he's doing all the time. But that would imply to me that Passio is somewhere kind of near-ish Galar. So I chose to place it there. But then again, knowing Leon, it's entirely plausible that Passio could be like way over here or way up here. And he just happened to get there out of pure comedy. I don't know. This man is an enigma. But for now, this is my Pokemon World map. I want to know what you guys think. Is there anything else that you would add? Is there anything that you would move? I know that from talking to people, having Kalos and Hoenn nearby was actually kind of controversial. Not a lot of people thought that was legitimate. And I also know that a lot of people just think this should match up with the map of the Earth. I'm sure some of you think that too. So let me know your opinions in the comments. But I appreciate you guys watching me talk through my madness and giving me feedback on this. So thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all soon.